Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Anonymous and a Menace, where you are anonymous and I am a menace. If you're new here, so are we. But let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Sam and I am the resident menace here on the podcast. And I started this podcast almost 4 years after creating content around anti-mlm and exposing multi-level marketing companies for the predatory scams that they are, in my opinion. And while I love to create that content, and I still do create that content regularly here on my channel, I wanted to branch out into something different, and an anonymous storytelling podcast felt like the best next step for me at the time. And so far, I'm loving it, and hopefully y'all are too. But you've only seen episode 1, so now we're on to episode 2. Things are getting serious, if you want to say that. But anyway, what that all means is that you just submit stories to me that you want to get off your chest. It could be anything from an embarrassing sexual encounter to a horrible MLM experience that you just want to get out into the open. Now, if you have a story that you want me to potentially share on the podcast, there's a link in the description below that allows you to submit a completely 1,000,000% anonymous story to me. If you fill out this form and you're expecting me to know who you are, just know that I will not have an idea, a clue, an inkling of where the stories are coming from unless you put your name in the story. And I will read your name on purpose, by accident, all of the above, if you put it in the story. So if you do want to remain anonymous, make sure you do not include it in your submission. But we're going to get into today's story, and they are getting spicier. We have 3 stories coming up today. I will put each story in the timestamps below so that if you want to skip around, just listen to one story. Listen to your story. If you know that your story is in this episode, you can skip around and do that. And now we're going to get right the fuck into it with our first story of the episode. This person says, the guy that I lost my virginity to had a harmless but very weird fetish. He wanted me to stick my tongue as far down his ear canal as possible.
Oh my God, that is so fucked up.
Since it was my first time, everything about sex was kind of weird, so I didn't think anything about it. The next person I slept with wound up with a tongue down their ear because I didn't know it wasn't normal. His body went perfectly still. He pushed my face away and got up and left.
You're fucking gross and your fucking saliva's gross.
Sorry, Justin. I had no idea. Oh my. I actually forgot about that story until just now when I read it. Do we not own Q-tips? I mean, some people have something against putting Q-tips in their ear, and that's okay. But I am very much a Q-tip user, or cotton swab user, if you will. And I use them for everything. I even clean out my nostrils because I have such fear of talking to people with bats in the cave.
You got a bat in the cave.
I do not want to have boogers hanging out of my nose when I'm talking to you. So go ahead and use those Q-tips, my guy. We don't need to be encouraging young women to stick their tongue all the way down your ear canal when they're having sex for the first time, making them subsequently think this is a normal thing. A kiss on the neck, yeah. Sticking your ear down somebody's ear canal, unfortunately, is not the route we want to go. So just be aware of fetishes, I guess. You want to make sure that if somebody is having you partake in their fetish, I'm not going to yuck your yum, but just be aware that this might be a fetish, and the next person you're with, if you break it off with this person and move on, whatever, that might not be their thing. But I definitely don't blame this person, whoever submitted this story. You really have no idea what you're doing, right? The first time you're having sex, girl, guy, they, I don't know what your pronouns are, but it is not your fault. This is nothing to be embarrassed about, for sure. I feel like anyone whose first time that it was, if that happened to them, if somebody asked for that to be something that happened during the intercourse, you would just expect it to be normal because that's your first experience. There's got to be wax up in there too. That's nasty as fuck. Interesting though. Like, did you taste the wax?
You really had to go there?
Anyway, let's move on to the next story. This is actually going to intertwine with my anti-mlm content because this is a story about somebody who was involved with my favorite, Scentsy. Hey Sam, I'm a longtime supporter of your channel. Hi, thank you.
I'm so awkward. I'm sorry.
For years now, I've been trying to pick up the pieces of my broken family, which was torn apart by Scentsy. In 2019, a bottle blonde consultant with way too much Botox became friends with my aunt. I feel like I might have an inkling of at least an idea of who you're talking about. She got her to host several parties, and our family spent an insane amount of money supporting her. She lured us all with gifts, gift cards, and just plain fakeness. And oh my God. If you haven't watched my anti-mlm content, I was in Scentsy for almost 4 years, which is an MLM, also known as multi-level marketing company. And I hate to admit it, but I did this to people because it's what's encouraged behind the scenes. It's encouraged to get you to grow your sales and grow your team. So unfortunately, this so far isn't unheard of. It's just disgusting and predatory. And I'm sorry I ever did it, but there are many people who are not sorry they ever did it and continue to do it. Anyway, she even targeted my mother, who has hoarding tendencies, and almost made her bankrupt. My aunt is obsessed with this woman and now sells under her. Her niece, my cousin, started selling, and that's where shit hit the fan. Yikes. Is all too familiar. Everyone stopped talking to one another because the aunt sold to everyone, including the cousin's mom. My cousin couldn't even get her own mom to order much as a scent circle from her. If you're not familiar with Scentsy, a scent circle is basically a car tree air freshener, like the ones that hang from the mirrors. It's just in the shape of a circle instead of a pine tree. Long story short, my aunt is a tyrant who thinks people can order from her, or she blocks or removes them from her life. What? Oh my God. I am so sorry. Family get-togethers that happened for years no longer happen. People no longer talk to each other, and everyone already knows what they're getting as a gift for any holiday from her. Stupid, smelly bullshit. This, again, is so common. This is insane. Hearing it on the flip side is insane, but it's so common. I am the black sheep. I have told them about how they are in a pyramid scheme, only making money for the blondie above them, that she wouldn't give them the time of day if they didn't make her money. So true. For saying any of this, I was labeled a problem, a hater, and crazy. I can't wait for the Scentsy ship to sink and hit the bottom of the ocean. I fear that my family will never be the same after this. The woman that they are under is manipulative and cruel. She only cares about herself and her own image. When I reached out to the compliance team to let them know that she does pay to play and teaches her team to not care about compliance rules, they pretty much said, "We will look into it," and did nothing. Shocker. If they're a top leader in Scentsy, and usually across the board in all multi-level marketing companies, if they get a compliance complaint, they will hardly look into it. They maybe will brush it with a very fluffy, soft brush to see if anything might come up, but they won't touch it because the top leaders are the ones that are keeping the businesses afloat because they have the biggest teams that are selling the most, that are recruiting the most. So they're not, in my experience, allegedly, and in my opinion, from what I've seen happen, they're not going to look as much into depth at a top leader as they would at somebody who's at the bottom of the pyramid, like yours truly. Scentsy doesn't care that they tear families apart or if their directors cheat their way to the top. Anyway, thanks for listening to my ramble. I wanted to get this off my chest for a long time. I can't wait for the queen bee controlling my relatives to finally fall from the top. I will definitely have popcorn when that time comes. Same, girl, same.
Oh, popcorn's ready.
If you're new to my content and anti-mlm content, or Scentsy's downfall is something of interest to you, my videos lately on my YouTube platform have been primarily about Scentsy because they are what appears to be going down in flames.
There's fire everywhere!
Allegedly, and in my opinion. I didn't expect to be saying that here on Anonymous and a Menace, but here we are. I am going to put a quick trigger warning here, and only because this next story, while it's more of a lighthearted story, there is mention of mental health and bipolar disorder. So if that's a trigger for anybody, I just want to make that very clear so you can exit this video and move on to the next, or go get on with your day, exit the podcast, whatever it is that you have to do to protect your mental health. And with that said, we're going to read the last story of the episode. So I have bipolar disorder disorder type 1, which makes life interesting at times. Bipolar disorder type 1 is a mood disorder where you can have extreme highs called manic episodes and extreme lows or depressive episodes. It's kind of like if you took a normal person's highs and lows in mood and cranked the intensity up to 11. The depression doesn't make for great stories, but I've done some crazy shit while manic. I met my ex-husband online when I was a sophomore in college in the early 2000s. I was manic at the time, so I wasn't thinking straight. I was 19 when we met and he was 17 and still in high school. We chatted via a text-only application called IRC. We exchanged a few very innocent pictures and talked on the phone after a while. He lived a few states away, and that was when you had to pay for calling long distance. I remember those days. So we didn't talk on the phone all that much. After he turned 18 and graduated from high school, he hopped on a bus to move to the city I lived in without telling his parents.
Ruh-roh.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I hid him in my room in an all-girls dorm for about 2 weeks before we could find him a place to stay. Wow, that's fun. 2 weeks? 2 weeks is a long-ass time to hide somebody in a dorm room. Props to you for that. If I told you all the stupid things we did, it would take forever. I know how that goes, trust me. The craziest one was the first time we had sex, which my first time ever was on the floor in my parents' living room. Hopefully you were not sticking your tongue down his ear canal.
There's no need to bring it back up.
They were home at the time. I don't know what we were thinking. Well, I wasn't in my right mind. Girl, we all did this. We all did this. Or maybe it's just us two. Maybe it could just be us two. I don't know. I don't know what his excuse could have been. I was a devout Mormon at the time, so it was doubly bad for me. Fortunately, no one heard us, and I've never told anybody except my best friend. Well, now we just told anyone who's listening to this podcast with their saliva-filled ear canals. I'm sorry I had to. I'm so sorry. I couldn't help it. That was such a full circle story. It had both Mormonism, which is where Scentsy is derived from, allegedly, and in my opinion, and virginity. What a beautiful way to round it out. One more thing before we do round it out, though, is that I have a very, very special guest coming on the next episode, and that will be the third Sunday of December 2025. If you didn't see my announcement on Instagram stories, the schedule for the pod right now is the first and third Sunday of every month. And for episode number 3, I have invited, wait for it, drum roll. My husband.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Give me your crazy couple stories. My husband and I have been together since I was 17. So we have been together.
And this is where I really age myself.
Almost 21 years. What? So we've seen some things. We've heard some things. We've been through some things. And I would love it if y'all can go ahead and spam me with your embarrassing couple story, whether it be somebody that you're still with or somebody that you were with in the past. It can be scandalous, not scandalous. I want to make my husband turn very red.
We ride at dawn!
Let's do it. That's the goal, okay? Anyway, if you're listening on the podcast platform, make sure you leave a review so that you can help us at Anonymous and a Menace get some traction. Also, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or any podcast app, make sure that you are subscribed or following the show. And if you're here on YouTube with me, make sure you're subscribed. If you didn't know, there is a video to this podcast. The YouTube channel is linked in the show notes or description, whatever it's called. And I hope to see you in future episodes. I hope that you'll continue to hang out with me while I talk shit about your embarrassing stories. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me while I talk a bunch of shit with you and about you. And I will see you in the next one.